Take two. Alright. I don't. Well, well, just know that I can't see the chat for TikTok, so if you do chat, I'm sorry if I don't answer back. So, hopefully you heard what happened. I don't want to say it again because that was a while. Um, so I'm gonna go through my things I need to do, and then we will head right on into um the live. All right. So the verse of the day today is those who sow in tears shall reap in joy in Psalms 126 verse 5. And again, this year, instead of asking for birthday gifts, I'm asking for your help in supporting something I'm truly passionate about. As many of you know, I'm the sound guy for the TMD-er podcast. We've been blessed to share conversations that encourage and inspire others, but we're currently working with limited equipment. My goal is to help improve the quality of podcasts with better microphones, audio equipment, and other recording gear so we can continue producing the best content possible. For my 21st birthday, I've set a fundraising goal of $5,000. Every dollar will go toward improving the podcast and investing in equipment that will help us grow for years to come. If you'd like to celebrate this milestone with me, I'd be incredibly grateful for your support. Whether you donate $5, $25, $100, or simply share. Every act of kindness makes a difference, and if you're not able to give financially, your prayers for our ministry and podcast are deeply appreciated. Thank you for being part of this journey and supporting something that means so much to me. I can't wait to celebrate turning 21 on October 10th, and I'm excited to see what God does through this next chapter. Support the fundraiser here at ko-fi.com/Daniel's Christian Content. Um, if you do donate, go to treasuresofthehill.com and direct message to Amanda Hill and say, hey, I donated this much. And we will help you get a gift gas basket for how much you donated. Um, so with that being said, please listen to the podcast. I lost it. So just give me 1 minute. You are listening to the TMD-er podcast on Spotify.
Jesus, won't you take me deeper into the very heart of God? Lord, help me to know your will. Father, the strength to carry on, 'cause I wanna go where you send me. And I wanna be what you made me. So may all of the other room in my heart burn. Lord, may all of the other room in my heart burn.
Take Me Deeper podcast is a ministry of Machias Christian Fellowship located on 3 Davis Road, Machias. Our service times are Sunday morning, 6:30, 8:30, and 10:30. We observe communion on the third Sunday of every month. Sunday evenings, junior and senior high youth group meet at MCF from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Monday evenings at 7 p.m. we have the Arise Addiction Recovery meetings. On the third Monday of each month, they have a potluck and testimony night, which starts at 6 p.m. We have prayer meeting on Wednesday night at 5:15 p.m., followed by our midweek service Wednesday night at 6:30.
The Freedom's Legacy Conference to celebrate America's 250th anniversary and renew the American spirit. It started right in Machias, where patriots banded together against a British Navy which was ordered to take their timber. Because of the local staunch resistance, the British began to refer to this area as the Hornet's Nest. You're invited to relive those moments with speakers like Bobby Charles, Robert Frost, and more. The Freedom's Legacy Conference, celebrating 250 years of American pride, kicks off January 31st of 2026. Doors open at 8 a.m. Lunch is provided, but you have to bring your blazing American spirit. From darkness to light, from bondage to the greatest nation on earth. Join us to celebrate just how amazing it is to be an American.
The Freedom's Legacy Conference on January 31st from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's open to attendees between the ages of 15 and 30. They can enter free. All others, $20 to come in. The Bright Arrow Group is a fellowship ministry of MCF. Donations to this ministry can be made through the church website at ccmachias.com. Arise Addiction and Recovery, helping people find freedom from addiction through a personal relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. For more information on their website at ariseaddictionrecover.com, the church website also has a donation button. Coastal Crowns make handmade hats stitched with care right here in Maine. They are all about that laid-back coastal lifestyle. Built for the dock, the boat, and the weekend grind. Find them on Facebook. Message Coastal Crowns, Dallas Richardson, or Brooke Davis for more information. Frame to Finish Carpentry LLC is a new business started by Joshua Earl. He will be doing carpentry and light construction. Contact number 207-263-5706.
Righteous Roofing and Renovations. Call 263-8368.
Eastern Wildlife Management is the name of my ministry. We have a Facebook page, and you can reach out to us on there, 207-598-8257. Tyler Farrington, FARRINGTON, 11 at yahoo.com.
Want to also support my son, Daniel Hill, who has his own business called Daniel's Media. He does photography and videography and can do some media design. Gone to school for that. Daniel's Media at myyahoo.com is his business email. Daniel's Media is also on Facebook, focused on photography and portfolio he's trying to work on. All other information is on his Facebook. His YouTube is at Daniel's Media P1N, is focused on Bible content, live streams. He has an Instagram, Daniels underscore media 5721, is focused on Bible content and photography. If you have like a family reunion or just want to get some kids' photos done, or we have a lot of beautiful area up in this down east area. He's mostly just trying to build the portfolio. He's not starting out with like super expensive or anything like that. His equipment is limited, but he takes really good photos and he just wants to get some practice in, and you guys can talk those things out. So just contact Daniel Hill on that. Treasures of the Hill is a handmade crafting business of Amanda Hill, editor of this podcast, and my wife. Items include a wide variety of handmade, customizable options. She makes up the merchandise we have available. Check out the website at treasuresofthehill.com or contact Amanda through Facebook on the Treasures of the Hill Facebook page. Thank you for listening to Take Me Deeper. We are now available on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. Our Facebook page is Take Me Deeper Podcast, where you can interact with other listeners and the creators. And you can also email us at takemedeeperpodcast@gmail.com. Welcome to Take Me Deeper. I am Casey Hill.
And I'm Nate Dudley.
I think we're on episode 28, 29.
28. I think it's 28.
28.
28 or 29.
So here we are. I have a thing that I want to do before we get into Romans. I'm going to have Daniel do a sound effect for me, and that's going to get us into our first segment, and then we'll get into Romans, because I said what I wanted to do at the beginning of the year, and I really want to do this.
Okay.
And we're going to start with one that I know that you like.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I know this is off the fly. Right off the cuff.
You haven't discussed this with me yet.
Nothing. Well, I mean, you kind of know what's coming, but
okay.
But you're going to enjoy this. This is going to be so much fun.
Fair enough.
Bro, it's going to be good. It is a new year, and this is how we're going to start. Verses taken out of context. Okay. Turn to Matthew chapter 18, verse 20. I believe that this is probably the most taken out of context verse in the Bible. I'm sure there are others out there, but this one I feel like is way overdone. And the verse is, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them." I want to ask the question, Nate, how many times have you heard when you're in a group of people talking about something and someone says, "Hey, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name"? Does that mean when you're out in the middle of the woods, all by yourself, having a conversation with the Lord, he isn't there?
Of course he's there.
Of course he's there. What I want to do is I want to go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And this is short. That's why I picked this one. It's not a long one. And the title heading I have on this particular grouping is Dealing with a Sinning Brother.
Oh.
Ooh, right?
Yeah.
So it starts in verse 15. "Moreover, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. And if he hears you, you have gained a brother. If he will not hear, take with you 1 or 2 more, that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established. If he refuses to hear them, then tell it to the church. If he refuses to hear even the church, let him be to you like a heathen and a tax collector. Assuredly, I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." I think that's probably the second most taken out of context verse. So we're kind of doing 2 here. "And again, I say to you that if 2 of you agree on earth concerning anything that they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there in the midst of them." So
interesting.
So why are we doing this as a church? Why are we on Christmas cards or get well cards or someone's going on a mission trip or something and
Well,
cutting these little things.
we're-
And this is a great phrase. I'm not saying that's a
people
great
use that verse to kind of solidify the will of God
in a
in a
situation.
situation
Right.
when it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with a sinning brother.
Right.
Let's go.
Let's get deep.
As we're going backwards here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it really does take reading verses in. I've also heard, like you said, verse 19
or 18. Assuredly,
Yeah,
I say to you, whatever
18.
you bind on earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like you bind the devil and you bind sickness and you bind. It has nothing to do with that. If you read it in context, it has to do with a sinning brother
Like I said, I
or
think
sister.
we had this a conversation a while back. Go online, go on YouTube. It's
Mhm.
still there. Type in Kenneth Copeland and binding COVID.
Yeah.
And in that, he binds Satan.
That's not his job to do.
That's another reason that I brought up in a text that we had with everybody that you text. And that's why I brought up what I brought up. It wasn't to confuse anything. I didn't. That's not what I meant to do. The church at large is cutting. I mean, okay, name a famous guy that cut up the word of God.
Cut up the word of God.
Like literally took a razor blade and took out the mysteries of God. A very famous person. He's way dead now. Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, what's the biggest thing we hear from an unbeliever? Oh, you guys are just a bunch of hypocrites.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna take a verse,
we were.
Well, right. But if we're gonna take a verse out of context and use it, or again, I'm not saying this isn't a great verse, but when you're by yourself,
Yep.
no matter where you are, God is there.
Right.
Because I mean, I remember hearing this a long time ago, and I thought, gee, if I'm by myself, that means God's not there. That means I'm really all alone. But this is an agreement about someone who's been found in sin or sinned against somebody else or hurt someone or whatever.
Yeah, and so let's break it down even more.
Yeah.
So Jesus is saying when you have a brother that's in sin and you go to him to bring somebody with you, because you can go to somebody and have a conversation and then you come back and report. You can say, I said this and this and this to them, and they said this to me. And then the other person can have a totally different story. And there's no way to prove each other right or wrong. It's he said versus I said, or whatever. That's why you bring in your witness. Okay. And that is why you can then say that Jesus is in the midst, because it's not just
he said, she said.
It's not just you versus your opponent or your whatever. There's witnesses before God. We're Christian brothers. Like, I'm not going to lie about you. When I had people right there, they can confirm that we talked about between witnesses and God, this is what happened.
Man, and that sounds so dirty too. When you say it like that, hey, I'm not going to lie because there were witnesses. We're brothers.
Yeah.
Golly, if you see me doing something that you're like, you could have handled that a little bit differently. It is in my best interest for you to come to me and say, I'm not saying what you did was wrong, but well, you were really harsh in how you yelled at your daughter or, said something to your wife or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I've ever.
I would expect the same.
Man, what does the Bible say? That your sins will be found out.
Yeah.
Right. There's another verse I'm taking out of context.
Well,
but
you know what was really cool about our conversation today, Casey, was on my part, I had a real burden to tell you something.
You looked nervous.
I was nervous because I didn't know.
Oh,
I didn't know how you were going to respond to it.
I don't know if you saw like the burden lift off my shoulders, bro.
I did.
It was crazy.
I don't know if you saw it lift off mine. But I mean, I'd been praying all week that you would receive it well and not hear it as.
That's what I was praying too.
Not hear it as, yeah. I mean, I gave you.
Texted
I
me.
gave
you
you
said,
3
hey,
days notice.
I got to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, Lord, whatever it is, please let me take this humbly.
And that's the cool thing about Christian brotherhood.
So right back to
that's the cool thing about it, because even if you're told something that's disciplinarian or like,
and this wasn't disciplinarian.
No.
This was like exciting news.
Yeah.
But even so, if it is disciplinary,
like a rebuke or something, like to be able just to hear it and accept it and say that's from God.
Well, Cass
Yeah.
said this. If I say something behind the pulpit
Mhm.
and you don't think it's right, do me a favor. Go home and pray about it. And then the next day, give me a phone call and let's meet somewhere and talk about it. Don't come at me like, blah, blah, blah. He said, if you want to get in my office and close the door, like let's do that. He said, but let's not do it right after the church service.
Right.
Sit on it for a minute. He
Right.
said, because I could be wrong. And I think, man, it's too bad that Jesus had to give that kind of teaching because it should be,
Should go without saying.
even if
We're not
someone
trying to.
comes to me and says, hey, this was something that you did wrong, and I don't think so. I mean, even if I'm the one that's being accused, I should be able to go to a person in leadership and say, hey, can you listen to this? And maybe I am wrong.
Mhm.
And if you are the one that's bringing an accusation, maybe you heard it wrong. Let's be adults and just do that. But again, right back to the two verses taken out of context, it is such a dangerous, dangerous place because if you tell someone a verse like that and they go backwards and they do a bunch of reading, they're going to think, wait a minute, what are you trying to say here? We need to be handling the Word of God as we say all the time. Like we try our best to read the Word and then put it into the microphone in a respectful way. I don't think we're doing anybody any favors when we take verses out of context and then use them in a really strange way. Next week I'll have another one.
That's awesome.
Any other thought?
You're right. I do like this.
I knew you would. I
It's a
knew
good
you
addition.
would.
Yeah.
This is right up your alley.
For sure. I totally agree. I think this will be a good segment.
Be aware. Whatever it is that you're sharing, make sure you kind of read it into context and go, gee, is that really going to make sense? And if it doesn't, like if you do want to use a verse like that, kind of write something under there too, just so that someone doesn't think something else is going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For anyone listening, talking about being careful with verses, there is a comedy bit by Tim Hawkins. I love Tim Hawkins. And he's got one called Forgotten Favorite Verse. And,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you know
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I'm not going to say anymore. Amanda
We have
can
all
post
of
it.
his.
Amanda can
Ian
post
has all of his.
We are in Romans chapter 9.
We are.
We probably should read this section by section. And I've got
For
1
sure.
through 5 as the first section of
Yes. Me too.
Israel's rejection of Jesus. And I believe it is your turn to read.
I think it is. All right, Romans 9:1. I tell the truth in Christ, I am not lying. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Spirit that I have great sorrow and continual grief in my heart. For I could wish that I myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my countrymen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the service of God, and the promises, of whom are the fathers, and from whom, according to the flesh, Christ came, who is over all, the eternally blessed God. Amen. Yeah.
I'll bring up my first note, which comes after verse 3. Like I said, I've got my study guide that I use with Chuck Smith, and he wrote that it should be certainly clear Paul's heart and the sorrow that he has for his Jewish kin to have not accepted Christ.
Yeah.
If there's anything that while we're going through, we don't always get a lot of emotions, right? We don't always get a lot of you don't get to see the eye rolls, you don't get to see the slumped shoulders, things like that. So if there's one thing that Chuck Smith points out is if when reading this, think about his posture of he's pleading, right? He's like, oh, you guys missed it.
Right.
We're going to read later about how, like, man, if I could give up my salvation for one, right?
Well,
Anyway.
he starts to say this in verse 3 anyway.
Yeah. But I feel like he says it in other times too. But it's just, but you can hear that.
Right. So I want to start these next couple of chapters out by drawing out some distinctions
Mm.
because I think it's going to be really important in the next few episodes that we do. And we actually have something really fun planned in the future. I want to start by pointing out whenever we see one distinction from another.
Mm.
Do you see what I'm talking about
I-
ahead of time before I say it?
Yep.
Okay, so Paul is talking about Israel. Okay, he starts out, he's talking about national
Mhm.
Israel.
Mhm.
And I base this on what he says in verse 3 For I wish that I myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my countrymen, okay,
Mhm.
according to the flesh.
Right. Yeah, because he's a
Who,
Jew.
who are Israelites, whom
Mhm.
pertain to the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the service of God, and the promises, of whom are the fathers and from, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he is coming right out and he's laying
The groundwork.
he's laying it all out. He's saying, Israel, my countrymen, my people, I wish. Because it was Israel that God first decided, this is the people that God decided to introduce the world to the message of salvation,
Right.
to God's plan, the 10 Commandments, the priesthood, everything.
You figure his glory was in the tabernacle.
Right.
God adopted the Jews as special.
Mm-hmm.
God told them that he would be their God and that they would be his people. And they'd be given the promises, the law, the order, and the service. They
Right.
had all of it
Right.
given to them. We've talked about this 100 times. We're given by grafting
Yes.
the same things.
We'll get there.
We'll get
eventually.
there.
Yeah. So I just wanted to,
But yeah, Israelites.
when these moments come up, I want to be able to pause and make the distinction.
Yep.
So the first 5 verses, Paul is talking about national Israel, and this is important because as we go on, we're going to be talking about there's this whole thing in politics right now, and it has been for quite some time actually, about Zionism and nationalism and Christian nationalism, and we'll talk about replacement theology.
Ooh,
we'll talk
that's a good
about
one. You mean the church hasn't?
Reformation and all that.
Yeah.
All these things are going to come up.
It is.
So that's why I really want to make sure that when we are going through this, that we're very clear on what Israel are we talking about.
Right.
So the first 5 verses, we know that Paul is talking about Israel as a national identity, his countrymen. He's an Israelite. He's a Jew. He's from the tribe of Benjamin. He's talking about the Jewish people that he wishes would have accepted Christ just like he did.
After verse 5, whom the fathers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the patriarchs.
Yes.
So in that group. And then Christ came, who's over all, eternally blessed God. Amen. Right? So Christ is God. So we can stop that argument. I mean, I see a lot of stupid comments on YouTube and wherever else. Titus 2:11-15 says, For the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, godly in the present age, looking for the blessed hope and the glorious appearing of our great God and Savior Jesus Christ, who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from every lawless deed and purify for himself his own special people, zealous for good works. Speak these things, exhort and rebuke with all authority, let no one despise you. And I think that's Israel as a people. If they would, we do see that right now Israelites are coming to faith, which is a weird way to say that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
it should be.
You can be an Israelite nationally, and you can be a Jew nationally, and you can be a Jew religiously.
Right.
But they're coming to faith.
Yeah.
And they have the same ability. And man, I think that's where I read these and I think, man, I do see what Chuck Smith was saying about just that broken heart. After reading the Titus verse when I was first doing the study, I was like, man, it is heartbreaking because he was a Jew.
Yeah.
He came to Jesus. Well, Jesus knocked him down. Jesus
he
went
did.
Jesus knocked us down, let's be honest.
For sure.
And I do wonder if he just saw it as a lot of people still see it today, as that stiff-necked, right? What did God say in the beginning? I chose you because you're stiff-necked, stubborn.
And you can be stubborn in a good way too.
Sure, absolutely.
You know,
I'm not going to do that
you
thing.
could say that everybody who was martyred in the 1st and 2nd century was very stubborn.
Yeah.
They refused to go
They
along
refuse to go the
season.
other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being stubborn isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Mm.
But I think when God is rebuking Israel, he calls you stiff-necked in your heart too.
Man, we talked about that in that opening verse.
Yeah.
When you get a rebuke, are you going to be stiff-necked, or are you going to lighten up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's so many references to that position. There's the verse that talks about being broken on the rock versus being crushed by it. That's the same thing. There's talk about in the Old Testament about turning your heart of stone back into a heart of flesh again, right? Like that's what God wants to do with his people. And I mean, a stiff neck leads to a stone heart for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Can you do me a favor?
I would love to do you a favor.
Can you read Genesis 25:19 through 23?
Dude, I was
No kidding.
Verse 19, this is the genealogy of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as his wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea, and Rebekah his wife conceived. But the children struggled together within her, and she said, if all is well, why am I like this? So she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger.
And why did I bring that up? So we're going to go to Romans chapter 9, 6 through 13. But it is not that the word of God has taken no effect, for they are not all Israel who are of Israel, nor are they all children, because they are the seed of Abraham. But in Isaac your seed shall be called. That is, those who are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God. But the children of promise are counted as the seed. For this is the word of promise. At this time I will come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also conceived by one man, even by our father Isaac, for the children not yet being born, nor having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to the election might stand, not of works, but of him who calls, it was said to her, the older shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob I have loved, Esau I have hated.
So let's go back. We're going to go back to Genesis 16 so we can figure out what's going on here.
Genesis 16? Where are we starting?
Verse 1.
Verse 1.
Now Sarai, who was Sarah before she became Sarah, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, and she had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, see now, the Lord has restrained me from bearing children. Please go into my maid. Perhaps I shall obtain children by her. Abram heeded the voice of Sarai. And Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. So he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress became despised in her eyes. Then Sarah said to Abram, my wrong be upon you. I gave my maid into your embrace. And when she saw that she had conceived, I became despised in her eyes. The Lord judged between you and me. So in verse 15, so Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. The only reason why I read this was to show that there's a pattern that's starting here.
Right.
We all know that God spoke to Abram while he was still in Ur of the Chaldees. Okay. So he said, take you and your family and head out in this direction. I'm going to show you where you're going to go. And he also talked to him about creating a family for him. Gave him the promise that, his descendants would be great, like lots and lots.
Mm.
And, how often do we do this, right? We hear from God and, we pray and we ask and we wonder, and then we're like, well, God will bless whatever we decide to do. So then we'll start stepping out and we'll start doing things that make sense to us when it's not exactly what he told us, right? So, like, specifically, God told Abram that his wife would bear him a son, right?
Right.
The two of them are going, that's kind of nuts, right? Because they're really old. So Sarah just says, maybe what God meant was you would have a son by me through one of my servant girls. Well, I'm sure this was hard for her to do. She took probably her most trusted servant and said, "There you go. Now you're married. Go have a kid." And Abram, being a typical male, being presented with this opportunity and permission from his wife,
This is true.
didn't argue at all.
No.
They did conceive a son, and they named him Ishmael, and that's the beginning of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We'll keep going through, but as we just read, Isaac was the son that was chosen. So I think we're just starting to see the Jews of Jesus' time once said, we're all children of Abraham.
And that's exactly where I was going to go next.
So my point is, there's all kinds of children of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
There was one father out of the two God had actually had in mind and had chosen.
Yep.
And this is all about the line of messianic line, bloodline, right?
Yep.
We're narrowing down on it.
And this is just as true today as it is, as it was back then, that just because you have some kind of connection to Israel does not mean God acknowledged you as one of his people.
Right.
Children of God have a desire for God. And today, unfortunately, many Jews are politically left and don't even believe in God.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I just stepped on a bug on
I
that
think
one.
we're good. I mean, you jumped way ahead.
Well, that was after verse 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did.
But we're going to be.
We're going to get there.
We're going to be really pulling that apart. We started out, we talked about national Israel. Now we're starting to break it down.
Yep.
Now we know we have two sons.
Right.
We've started out, we've got two sons of Abraham.
Right.
Right. And one was the promised son.
Mm-hmm.
One was man trying to help God along. Right.
And God always knows.
He always knows
who's going to follow.
Yes.
And who's going to wander and stray away.
Yep.
Right. And that's true with right now what we're talking about with Ishmael and Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also true in Jacob and Esau. Because we do talk about Jacob and Esau in verse 13. So we have two situations going on.
Right.
Anyway.
No, that's
Oh, that's where you're gonna go.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. Isaac is born, then he conceives with his wife Rebecca.
Yes.
And she figures out she's got twins.
Mm. And there's something going on in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity going on inside of her belly. She asks God, like, hey, what is going on in here?
And he literally tells her it's a war.
Yeah, you've got two nations inside of you. God said one will be stronger, which is kind of crazy, Casey, when you think about it.
Yep.
One's going to be stronger, but
the
older will serve the younger, which is proven out.
Any ladies out there that have had twins, I've been around people that have had twins, and they could tell, like, oh, this one's this way and this, but never like, oh, they were beating up on each other or anything weird that you read through
Usually twins like love each other.
Right.
It's like,
and if you separate them,
yeah,
there's some weird.
There's been some weird studies. Like there's a bond there that's really strong.
Years ago, there was a story about a set of twins that got separated at birth.
Mm-hmm.
And when they got together, they had both married twins that almost looked identical.
And they had the same names.
Yeah.
Sisters who were twins. And they all had the same names.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that was I remember reading that story too.
Yeah. So
Bizarre.
yeah, it is bizarre. And so here you have this set of twins that apparently are going to be at each other's throats for
All eternity. At least that's the way it's worked out so far.
so far.
I want to address
Oh,
why would God say, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated?
you know, I've done
Why would
research
he
on this.
why would he say that? God doesn't
hate.
God doesn't necessarily hate anybody. He hates sin. He hates what sin does to us, but he never tells anybody that he hates them. So why would God say that he hated Esau?
Yeah, so Malachi 1, 2 through 3, I have loved you. How have you loved us? Was not Esau's Jacob's brother, yet I have loved Jacob, but Esau hated. And then, of course, where we are in Romans. Okay, so when studying the Bible, and I am getting this from Gut Questions, I get a lot of my information from there. It's a really great place to go. Critically important to always study the context of a particular Bible verse or passage. We're going to kill that by the end of the year.
Yes, we are.
In these instances, the prophet Malachi and the apostle Paul are using the name Esau to refer to the Edomites,
Right.
who were the descendants of Esau. Isaac and Rebekah had two sons, Esau and Jacob. God chose Jacob, whom he later named Israel, to be the father of his chosen people, the Israelites. God rejected Esau, who was also called Edom, and did not choose him to be the father of his chosen people. Esau and his descendants, the Edomites, were in many ways blessed by God. Genesis 33:9,
Right.
and Genesis chapter 36. So considering the context, God loving Jacob and hating Esau has nothing to do with human emotion of love and hate. It has everything to do with God choosing one man and his descendants and rejecting the other man and his descendants. God chose Abraham out of all the men in the world. The Bible very well could say, Abraham I loved and every other man I hated. God chose Abraham's son Isaac instead of Abraham's son Ishmael. The Bible could have said, Isaac I have loved and Ishmael I have hated. Romans chapter 9 makes it abundantly clear that loving Jacob and hating Esau is entirely related to which of them God chose. Hundreds of years after Jacob and Esau had died, the Israelites and Edomites became bitter enemies. The Edomites often aided Israel's enemies in attacks on Israel. Esau's descendants brought God's curse upon themselves. Genesis 27:29 says, May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed. Pretty good explanation.
Yeah.
It's not so much a love and hate.
It was a choice that God made between the two brothers.
I mean,
the
it's
two
like
nations.
if you read different translations, right? Some things will say, "Oh, the Lord is great and terrible." Well, that just means awesome.
Yes, and
Okay.
powerful.
And powerful.
So God, in His plan,
right?
He knew that the Messiah
He knew,
was going to come through the bloodline of one of those two men, one of those two nations.
And you don't name one Israel and not have that be the line.
Right.
So God, knowing that he was going to choose Jacob, he later changes his name to Israel after wrestling with him.
Yeah. He also could see, and there's a story that you read about Esau and Jacob where Esau basically gives up his birthright.
He gives up his birthright.
Because he's hungry.
Yeah. I'm going to die. No, you ain't. You're a hunter, for crying out loud.
He got back from his hunting excursion. He was starving. And Jacob was making some kind of
green soup.
Some kind of soup. Esau was like, dude, I'm so hungry. I'll give you anything.
Give me your birthright.
And Jacob's like, give me your birthright. He's like, yeah, whatever.
And what's hilarious about that, right? So hold on. So he sells his birthright.
Over something
stupid.
Yeah.
And then he goes off to make meat for his father. Rebecca makes the meat. Then Jacob goes in and gets the blessing. Esau shows up. How old are these boys? They're not really young men.
No.
Right? They're not. They're older.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what does Esau do? But Daddy!
He cries. I know.
Really? You sold it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Can you really sell a birthright? Right? So here's the thing. You really can't.
Right.
Because you're the firstborn. You don't have the right to do that. Think about the story of the prodigal son.
Right.
Right? The older son, it's his birthright,
Mhm.
but the younger just wants his inheritance, whatever
Right.
that may be,
Right.
right? So here you have Esau and Jacob. Esau's just stupid.
Mhm.
You can't sell a birthright. So he does that, but then he wants to complain that he doesn't get the blessing that he thought he deserved.
Yeah, and Jacob's like, "Sorry, I already gave the
Sorry,
blessing."
bro. I already gave it out, so I'm just going to give you kind of a not so good cursing.
Yeah.
Like, don't you have anything for me? You ever see UHF?
Yeah, a long time ago.
I just every
Yeah.
time I read that phrase where he just like, don't you have something for me? It's always the guy that worked for the bad guys channel.
Mhm.
But daddy, every time that's all I can see is that guy. But daddy,
Yeah, I mean it's sad, but he did that to himself.
Yep.
And then the deal was made and you can't go back on it. And the thing is, it kind of shows you that God knew that in advance. He kind of saw that. Like, I don't think that situation was necessarily manipulated. I mean, it kind of was, but not to start out with. There's no way that Jacob would have been just sitting there. He's like, when he comes back from his hunting trip, he's going to throw everything away for a bowl of soup. But he took advantage of the situation for sure.
Oh yeah, of course he did.
But
And so did his mom.
Right. And I'm
I
just
mean,
saying that,
she was just like, "Hey, I see a situation here."
yeah.
But she knew
But so
because
did
she was.
God. God knew that's how it was going to
Yeah.
play out,
I mean,
which is why
she didn't have to force the situation. That's the thing is
it's more helping. We're
Sarah
helping God again.
Sarah forced the situation. Rebecca
Yeah.
forced the situation.
Right.
It's funny, as you were talking, and I did the whole like mind blown thing. I just because Esau complained
Hmm.
because of his situation. There's a famine in the land.
Yep.
They go to Egypt. They're complaining that they're later in slavery. Moses shows up. They get more work, so they complain that Moses has put more work on their shoulders. So they
Right.
start to leave Egypt. The army's coming. Like, what? Did you bring us out here to die? They cross over the river. They celebrate. They're into the desert for a little bit. They start complaining again. And then Jesus shows up. I know I'm skipping way ahead. And Jesus makes the pigs go off the cliff. And
Hmm.
they're like, you need to leave. We're tired of you. You're doing really great things, but you need to go. And then they kill him.
Point?
The complaining.
Yeah.
When Sarah and Abraham went into Egypt, he said, "Hey, tell them you're my sister because they'll kill me if they think you're my wife."
Yeah.
Right? And that's how they end up with Hagar in the first place.
Right.
And then Rebecca and Isaac,
Yes.
same thing. Tell them you're my sister because they'll kill me. And then the complaining, and then the complaining, and then we would have been better if we just stayed in Egypt. At least we had onions.
Yeah.
And then
Onions and whips on our back. Yeah.
yeah,
But onions.
and then you go through all these other people. You can read through Daniel, you can read through Isaiah, you can read through Jeremiah, but you can just all you see is just like all this complaining take place. The Lord said he's going to do this because you did this. Oh, but wait. But then Jesus shows up and the complaining doesn't stop.
Right.
It's just where my brain went. Like how
So,
much complaining can you take as God before you just kind of like, come on now.
well, I mean, there's going to be a
He's
day.
very patient.
There's a day coming where he's all done with all of it.
I mean, I'm only 40. I'll be 48 this year.
Mhm.
And I think about some of the complaining I've done throughout my life. Sure.
Yeah.
Right. But like, we're talking like thousands of years of these people complaining. And he's just like, hey, no, I got this. I'd be like, man,
Do you
you
think
done? How?
there's a time when Jesus was really fed up with his disciples? He said, "How long
long?
am I going to have to deal with you guys? Don't you understand yet what
Do-
I'm doing here?"
Do you think he said that with a smile on his face?
I think he said it with a little bit of
A wink?
maybe, but then again, sometimes
Or was it an eye roll?
I think
Ugh,
it might have been,
you guys dumb.
yeah. I mean, I think there was everything that
Why?
Jesus said and did was a lesson for us, right? I think the lesson is we make the same mistakes over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
We think we know, and then we get really complacent in the things that we think we know. The disciples at the time, they had what they'd always been taught about the Messiah, and they were expecting at any time Jesus to say, "All right, it's go time. Time to take Rome down." And that's what they were waiting
That's
for.
what they were waiting
That's what
for.
they
And I
were
get
waiting
that.
for
I totally get it.
Jesus's whole ministry. and all of this spiritual stuff, and sometimes they're going, Lord, we don't understand what you're saying.
I just need to apologize.
Yeah.
Because if I were God, this planet would have been a marshmallow a long time ago.
No kidding.
Like there would be nobody.
Well, thank God he's
Oh, look,
so patient.
marshmallows.
He's so patient with us. Thank
Yeah.
God.
Oh my gosh. I'd be like playing pool, like, okay, Jupiter into Earth. Well, wait, that's a gaseous planet. That's no good.
Well, the
It
gravity
still wouldn't be good.
the gravity would crush us.
Yep. Earth into Sun Pocket. Was an elder who said, Lord, how long?
Yes. The martyrs were all crying
The
underneath
martyrs were crying, right?
they're all underneath the throne in the throne room, and they're all crying, when will we receive justice for our martyrdom?
Yep.
Even the earth groans right now for justice, right?
Yeah.
For the day when God's going to come and make everything right again. So yeah, God listens to lots and lots of complaining, for sure.
I look at my life, and I don't look at it like, oh, I'm better than the Israelites. Certainly, that
Right.
isn't my thought process. But when you could hear the voice of God, they said the ground rumbled when Moses was up on the mountain. They could hear the thunder, see the lightning, and the earth shook.
And the smoke.
And the smoke
fire.
and the thing and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
that. Like, I don't know. I think today people would miss it.
I think it's nuts going ahead to where you were, just like as far as Israel's history. Every single day, they are led by a pillar of cloud.
To keep them cool.
So this
in the morning.
this giant rotating column of
However,
dust and whatever is hanging out in the middle of their camp.
Mm-hmm. And at night it's
and
fire.
then at night it turns into fire.
Yeah.
That's not a common occurrence.
And this
you can't find that on the earth anywhere today.
Right.
I mean, we have temporary weather events, like we have tornadoes.
Sure.
But they're temporary.
Yep.
And we've actually had those fire tornadoes, which is when a tornado goes over something that's on fire. And
yeah.
I mean, there's been very
weird anomalies.
Short instances where you can look at it and go, I wonder if that's what it was like.
Right.
But this is like, for 40 years, it's not killing people.
And then he would hang out in the temple.
Yeah.
And when he was in the temple, they sat.
Yeah.
And they knew that the presence of God was there.
Right.
It wasn't like they didn't know.
So
they all knew. It was saying how the camp of Israel rested because they knew the presence of God was there.
But my point is this: they got so used to seeing that amazingly supernatural event. They saw it every day. It stopped being amazingly supernatural.
I mean, that's why Moses covered his face with the veil.
Yeah.
And didn't take it off because he didn't want them to see that was disappearing.
Right. His face was so shiny it would have blinded them.
Yeah. So he kept the veil on, and it said he even kept it on as the light.
And
dissipated.
I heard somebody talking about, it was Chuck Missler. He likes numbers. But when you talk about how many millions of actual Jews were there was at least 1 million men, plus their families involved, maybe something like that.
Right.
Or 1 million people. I don't know.
It was a bunch.
When we read in Exodus about how God fed Israel with manna,
yep.
Do you know how many thousands and thousands of pounds of manna that were actually totaled up to?
Right.
When you read about it, you just think there were these little
pieces of bread.
These little puff. We don't really
puff
know.
Pastries.
They're literally called, what is it?
Yeah, what is it?
That's what manna meant. What is it? When you think about the number of people that had to be fed every single day, we're talking probably tons of food being rained on by God somehow.
I think there was someone who talked about it mathematically.
Yeah.
Depending on the square footage or square mileage of all the people. And if it only fell where they were. Yeah. Right? They said that it could have been almost up to their shins.
Honestly.
Because they had to feed everybody in their families, and then there was one day where they didn't go out.
So it would come down twice as much.
Right.
Think about the things that the Israelites saw just in the first 40 years of their wandering. And
all we have is this manna.
And it's
Keeping
like
you alive.
all of this miraculous stuff. Honestly, they saw it so much that it just became commonplace
Right.
and expected, not seen for as the miracle that it was, but they got bored with it.
So, how can we take that and we go forward to where in Jesus' time
Mm-hmm.
they're saying, "Hey, our father's Abraham," and Jesus literally tells them, "I am the bread from heaven."
Yeah.
Right? Did they hear it so much that they're like, it doesn't even mean anything?
I don't know, but when you think about
Why
how
did
much,
why did they make the children memorize this
yeah,
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy by the time they were 13 years old? Why would you make them memorize something that you're just gonna say, it is what it is?
well, I think it's in certain religious traditions, in order to be forgiven, you have to say something a certain number of times as determined by the priest.
The Hail Marys.
But yeah,
I said it.
you pray the rosary. Okay, so you have this thing that you have to memorize, and then you've got a string of beads. I'm not Catholic,
And I was gonna
so
say, I'll be honest, I
I
have no idea what
honestly,
they mean.
I honestly don't know the whole thing
Yeah.
either. But here's my point: if your priest tells you you gotta say 50
Hail Marys.
Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers,
Right.
right? Other than the fact that that's just stupid. It really is. I mean, come on. Jesus talked about vain repetitions. He goes, don't do that like the heathens do, because it doesn't mean anything. You're taking something that on the outset, when you take the quotation that you're saying, it has a lot of meaning to it.
Right.
When you turn it into a spell, honestly,
Right.
and you say it over and over and over again, it loses the impact and it loses the importance of why it was originally used in the first place. And that's all I'm saying is when we take something and we make it trivial and we do it over and over and over again, it loses its impact. Like, let's bring it to a modern concept. I'll say the word racism. Racism.
I hate that
Number
word.
one, I don't like the word racism because it infers that there's more than one race.
Right.
And there isn't.
That's my problem.
However, different nationalities and ethnicities, but not different races. Two races would infer there were multiple humanoid species that were evolving at the same time or created at the same time, and that's not what the Bible supports. Not to mention the Bible says there's one blood and we're all members of it. So there is no actual races when people use the word racism. However, my point is the word racist and racism is being used now. It's being thrown out to get an opposing viewpoint to shut up. When people say it, it's just stupid.
Yep.
Because it's like 9 times out of 10, it's liberal white women calling
everybody
conservative white men the same color. That kind of stuff drives me crazy.
Yep.
But that's my point, though, is you can take a word or you start calling everybody Nazi.
Yeah.
If you don't politically, that means you're a fascist or a Nazi.
Yep. A nationalist.
Yeah.
Zionist.
But I think when you do the research and you study, you finally figure out who the Nazis actually were.
Right. And that the party doesn't exist.
Versus somebody who's just like asking questions like, why do this group of people get to do this? When I say something that's opposed to it, I'm called a fascist or a Nazi.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not committing genocide against a whole people group.
Right.
I'm not going around threatening business owners to do it my way, or you're going to lose your store or your merchandise or get beaten up in the street. That's not what I'm doing.
Right.
So I just think it just goes along the same line. Like, we overuse things when we see things
and it doesn't
too much.
Mean
it loses the value that it's supposed to have.
You mean like salt losing its flavor?
Yeah,
and it's
that too.
just worthless.
Right.
You know,
right.
It's not useful for anything. When you take all these words, you take any word and you use it way too much. After a while, it's just part of conversation.
Right.
And down east, there's a certain word that everybody just seems to use that I'm just like, whoa, wow, oh, and it's not shock.
More
It's,
than the average.
boy, if you just say that word over and over and over again, and it doesn't even phase anybody.
And you use it as a filler word too.
Yeah.
So it's not even.
Yep. It's not like
there are times when someone uses that word and you can say, oh, they were confronted with a scary situation and they exclaimed,
oh shoot,
something something.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, but
Sure.
not when you're just
No.
saying, I'm just getting in the truck and going to that store and getting some gallon of milk. You know what I'm saying?
All the time.
It's just like,
It's just part of the conversation.
It's like, I don't think people realize that they're saying.
No, I don't think so either. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe all of this stuff had been said, I don't know, maybe on overdrive,
Probably
as a filler, maybe.
Yeah, and
you're
talking,
Jesus shows up and nobody's ready.
You're talking, 1,000 years or more.
Sure.
Of people going through this religious system.
Sure.
In anticipation of the Messiah.
Yeah.
That's the promise.
Yeah. Man.
And then you never think it's going to happen. It becomes like a legend, almost like a tradition.
Yeah. It's a lot of things I wouldn't change in my life with the things that I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I wish I had become a Christian
sooner.
A lot sooner.
Yeah.
Aaron's saying this morning, talking about elderly people that don't feel like they're useful. I thought that way after hitting 40. I thought, man, what can I possibly do? Because I thought everybody was looking for younger people to do certain things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 47, but I got to a point where I was like, maybe I'm past that kind of usefulness.
Mm-hmm.
I need to find a place where I can be useful. And
yeah.
I kind of locked myself into doing a lot of background stuff. Didn't bother me to do something background, like, unplugging a toilet, mopping a floor, or whatever. To me, I mean, that's awesome. Because that stuff's needed. Aaron said, someone who's got some gray in their beard, and someone's like, you're kind of.
Can God really use you?
Can God really use you? You're kind of getting old there, buddy.
Well, in my experience has been, I've always been involved in some form of music ministry. I mean, that's just where God has had me. Honestly, I can look at it today and see it as more of a deacon kind of role, where my part in the ministry is important and necessary, but I'm not an elder. Right. I know I'm not a teacher. My role is necessary and required and that sort of thing. I've always been really faithful to do it when I'm asked to. But for me, it hasn't been until I moved here. Really, the last 5 years of my life, I'm going to be 49 in a month. I feel like I'm finally being used by God the way he wanted me to be. I had to go through a lot of things. I had to do ministry. I had to be put on a shelf for a while. I had to come back and just be okay with sitting to get back into a place where I could be usable again. Mm-hmm. And then God put me into this job that I have now, and now I'm doing a podcast. And honestly, Casey, I feel like I'm at a place right now where God has been using me to do and to say more than I ever have in my whole walk with God. I think we were talking about it earlier. It's like we feel the weight of it. I do have silver whiskers in my beard. Yeah. They say with age comes wisdom. I'm not saying I'm there, but I know a lot more now than I used to. I just think that, some of the things that have happened to me, like the experiences that I have definitely made me more appreciative of my salvation. And I recognize mercy a lot more because I know what I deserve. Oh, yeah. As annoying as people are, I can stop and think and say, God gave me such mercy when he saved me. I deserved nothing. Who am I to pronounce some kind of judgment on somebody just because they don't drive the way I like? Right. No, things like that. Or if they behaved a certain way out in public, and they've done certain things in their life that I wouldn't have done. You can't hold grudges forever. You have to at some point look at somebody and say, well, what does God think? I don't want to be that person that just writes you off because you did something that offended my expectations or whatever.
Yep. It's one of the things that we went to a previous church, and a couple came in that were married. He'd been divorced before he knew who Jesus was, and he comes in and he'd been in the church for a while and just started at the bottom, as we would say, just wanting to help out here, there, and everywhere, and got into leadership roles of children's ministries and things like that.
Yep.
And I overheard him say, yeah, and I can never be in a deacon position. And I said, why not? Because I didn't know that he'd been divorced, but that was their reason why. And I was like, but you kind of are in that position. I mean, they were ministering to other couples that were going through situations. They were ministering to children. They were helping out around the church. Do we put too much weight on people? Like you just said, you don't want to stop someone from being useful. You don't have to put them in an official role, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like they had a title, but they almost felt like when they were told that they kind of had to stop ministering to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if it really works that way. They weren't in a title position, but they were doing all of those things that Will Cass would be like, man, if you're already serving in that position, then guess what? You're serving in that position.
I'm looking at the qualifications for deacons.
Yes.
Just the outline right here says 1 Timothy 3:8-13 emphasizes strong moral character, spiritual maturity, faithful service, requiring dignity, sincerity, self-control, freedom from greed, and wine abuse. I think it says in the King James, not given to much wine. So it doesn't say not given to any wine,
right?
Which the elders and the bishops are prohibited,
right,
from wine. And dishonesty, with a focus on managing their household well and holding to Christian doctrine with a clear conscience, while also being tested and having good reputation. To break down managing their household, it says to be the husband of one wife. I think that in a lot of circumstances, Casey, especially today, if you were to get almost legalistic about it, you were waiting for me to say that word.
I was.
If you were to get legalistic about it, then nobody would be serving.
Nobody. So that was my point. I looked at this poor man who literally was crushed. There was no question. The leadership came right to him and said, no, you can't be doing this. But he's ministering to all these people.
Yeah.
And doing it honestly. There was no game from it. There was no deceit. And again, he was divorced before becoming a Christian.
Yeah, so I mean, if you get divorced, does that mean God can't use you?
That's it.
Yeah.
So I feel like
now
that particular leadership could have done that in a different way.
Yeah.
Because we've kind of already had that conversation previously. I just so anybody doesn't know, we have left Romans 9 and we're now just kind of talking about
riffing.
stuff.
Yeah.
Riffing. But no, I just kind of wanted to get your thought on that, because I
think that
it's so wrong to tell people that they can't serve, because you just get done saying you don't want to tell people, oh, you're not useful.
So if you're going to go by, and we always should, we should go by what the Bible says. I mean, you're looking for the qualifications, right? For deacon, elder, bishop.
Yep.
And I don't think that it's wrong for a church to hold their potential church leaders under a biblical standard.
Sure.
But does that mean, for instance, if you see somebody that's serving the body, I mean, maybe you don't necessarily give them the title of deacon,
right?
But you allow them to, they're not hurting the church, they're helping.
Right. As the leadership, if they had gone to them and said, hey, we see that you're helping these people that are going through things, we'd love to give you an outlet for that.
Yeah.
Like maybe you get a church leader to sit in and
to
say,
oversee it.
We have this group that's getting together that's talking about divorce.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you say, we heard what you were saying, and what you were saying is amazing. And the people are coming to us saying, this is amazing.
There's nothing wrong with assigning an overseer.
Yeah.
Like the pastor could be like, I really like what's going on over here.
Yeah.
We need to get somebody to come alongside him.
Yeah.
Just to oversee and be able to provide any support that's needed from our church.
But to I don't know. I really do. I mean, I remember just the way they said, yeah, no, I can't serve in that situation because of this, and I'm like, well, then who's qualified to be
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
situation?
Exactly. I don't want to be anyone who says go against what the Bible says as
No.
far as what the qualifications are, because I don't want to say that. But when you look at the way our culture and society is right now, I think the divorce rate is like 50%, even in Christians.
So how did marriage work pre-Abraham and then after Abraham?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
I wasn't either. So when you get to
There was a
Timothy,
lot of arranged marriages.
when you get to Timothy,
Yeah.
and they say the husband of one wife,
Well, you have to think the Roman lifestyle was you had a lot of
harems.
you kind of did. You had 1 to 3 wives.
Yeah.
No, I actually heard somebody talking about this. You were married to your main wife,
Yes.
and she was the one that managed your home and bore all of
The
your children. You had your wife that was only there for one reason, and we won't go there. But
Right.
and then you had the wife that you took with you to all of your social events,
Right.
who was
Because the
kind of
one at home couldn't.
was your arm candy.
Right.
You had your arm,
Trophy wife.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That was how the Roman upper class how they did it.
Yeah. I think about when you become one flesh,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So we're getting kind of dirty here.
It's not dirty.
Well, so you're not married to somebody.
Well, that's dirty.
Okay. You're young and
Right.
you do some things and
Yes.
then you get older, but you're not with the people that you did things with, and
Right.
then you get married later down the road. You become a pastor.
Yeah.
According to, I'm playing devil's advocate.
I hear what
that,
you're saying. I totally do hear.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of people I think that if we really want to take a fine-tuned coat, like you just said, being legalistic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being super legalistic here, but the question does come to none of us are in a different boat.
Right.
I know people that didn't gallivant even when they were heathens, right? Their wife was their first person. I know a lot of people like that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. But I do wonder if we were to hold to some really stiff standards, how many people would be able to look at it and go, oh, you're not really qualified for that.
If you were to go back and judge everything based on what we did before salvation, then nobody would ever be qualified.
Right.
No one ever would be. There's a lot of grace involved in that. Yeah, for sure.
That just all stemmed off from you just saying, man, I mean, to say to someone you're too old. And that's what really kind of made me think about that a little bit. And I was just like, man, I'm going to ask the question. I'm personally at a place too where I look at someone's life BC and where they are AC. And I'm just like, man, if we truly say that Jesus has washed all those things,
yeah,
well, then who am I to say,
no, he hasn't.
Right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No.
Right?
No, that's right.
If you got saved and all of these things that you did before that, if Jesus died for all of that, and now you're this person, I shouldn't be able to go, yeah, but because that's what Satan does.
He keeps bringing up our past, beating us over the head with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you all cringy?
Well, because, I mean, that could step on some toes.
Well,
ouch.
The gospel does step on toes. It's so offensive.
It sure is. Man, we just got done talking about how, this is Israel's rejection.
Mm-hmm.
So let's tie it all together. Who are we to reject what God has done in someone's life to make them a new creation?
Well, yeah, there's principles that talk about that. We have to look for fruit.
True.
If somebody says that they've been changed by the gospel, okay.
Sure.
Prove it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying prove it as in other than to say, if you have been changed by the Holy Spirit, then your behaviors, your thought patterns, the way you talk, the things that you're interested in, your love for people will increase.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, you'll find things about yourself that you never experienced before in a way that you want to get closer to God and God's people. Some people that could have cared less about anybody, now all of a sudden they're involved in food pantry ministries and serving a church and working with kids down in the nursery. And what can I do in this church to help out? You know, those are the things that you look for.
Yep.
And it's not just one thing that you look for, it's the lifestyle, right? It's the whole scope of everything. He serves in the nursery every Sunday. Well, how is he out in the community?
Right.
Right? You can only trick somebody for so long. So those are what we look for. We look for fruit and we look for that sincerity.
Do we have anything fun we want to talk about before we head out of here?
Anything fun? Sure.
Anything fun?
Let's talk about our podcast a little bit.
Ooh. Oh, viewers and all that stuff, right? So just for podcast percentages and performance, we are in the top 0.59362% worldwide podcast. We are the top 30 to 40% with at least 11 plus episodes with known special guests.
Wow.
How about that?
That's awesome.
That's fun. We have 112 plays in the last 30 days on SoundCloud, Spotify. 70 streams in the last 30 days. All-time plays 408.
Wow.
103 consumption hours. 25 for the audience size and 13 followers.
That's awesome.
So there's that. The top track for SoundCloud, the Christmas special.
Really?
Where we just read.
That's the top track?
That's what it says.
I wanted to shout out some people. My Disciple Rocks Boardies Facebook group that I'm an exclusive member of because I created the group myself a long time ago. I just wanted to say hi to all of you. I know we were talking on Facebook the other day after Autumn went to a Disciple concert. We were talking about how old we all are. I hope you all heard this today, and I just wanted to say, love you all. You guys are good brothers and sisters. Freaky says, hey.
Freaky?
Freaky Dude was my name on
Freaky Dude.
Yeah. With a PH.
Ooh.
Yeah.
PH. December 21st, an ICE agent got run over.
In a totally
and
different
then
state,
4 days ago, an ICE agent got run over.
Well, did you know that this was the second time someone attempted to run him over?
Right. This is his second time.
Yeah.
And if you watch that video where he gets run over, it wasn't just ICE agents. There were some guys on the back of their uniform that said official police. They weren't just ICE agents. These were police officers and ICE agents. The police officers were there to move the protesters.
Yeah.
The ICE agents were not moving the protesters. This was police officers. There was another video that we watched where a lady took a swing at a police officer. An ICE agent grabbed a hold of her and pushed her up against the car, but she swung at an officer.
Yeah.
So we have two things happening. There's severity to this, okay? Yes, somebody died. That's pretty severe. If you strike an officer, a police officer, that is a state offense. You run over or hit an ICE agent, that's a federal offense. That's a completely different level of severity. You have civil crimes, there's another level of crime, and then you have federal crimes. I don't know how we've gotten to this place where we think it is our job to stand in the way of any kind of official business. If it's something that's being done that's like super oppressive, like you have to get the COVID vaccine or something like that. I mean, I have different places where I stand on things, but let someone do their job. And if it comes about that they're incorrect, we'll know. If you comply with certain things, things don't seem to go sideways as fast. Running people over is not okay.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's not okay anyway.
That's what I mean. Don't run people over of any kind. If someone's protesting, don't run them over. If you are protesting, don't run somebody over. Don't set something on fire. Don't destroy somebody's business. Don't throw a rock through a window. Don't slap an officer. How does it prove your point?
How does destroying your own community's businesses, how does that forward your position to get the government to comply to you?
There was a place in Alabama, this is back when BLM really exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And there were vans dropping off people.
Yeah.
Well, someone told a community in Alabama, don't know where, but they were told this is coming to your community. And those people said, if you think that's what's going to happen, you're going to be met with something. Well, the vans showed up, but so did the community with shotguns. The people
As they should.
The people got back in the vans and drove off.
Yeah.
Those people were not part of their community. And this was happening all over the United States. It's just some people were letting it happen. But these people in this particular community got together and said, this isn't happening. So what they found out was they didn't want resistance. They were hoping that you were just going to let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So in the places where there was resistance, it didn't happen. Anyway.
Well, I wanted to read something.
Do that.
It really pertains to what we were just talking about. And this is in Romans again, as a matter of fact. Romans 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same, for he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Therefore you must be subject, not only because of wrath, but because of conscience's sake. I'm just going to say it. So many people have said it before. If you're doing nothing wrong, then you have no reason to be afraid of police or the military. If you're out there causing trouble and you're blocking traffic and you're rioting and you're tracking down federal and local police officers and you're making it hard for them to do their jobs, then expect retaliation. And Casey, didn't I predict this like how many podcasts ago?
Yeah.
I feel like everything that I said is starting to happen now.
That dream that you were talking about, where
my worst case scenario.
In your worst case scenario, where you said you're causing good people, to go out and do things.
Yeah.
I have two scenarios.
Okay.
Actually, it's like four, but I've been pulled over a couple of times for having a tail light out. One time I got pulled over. They didn't know how fast I was going, but they thought I was speeding. They let me go. But anyway, and I was cordial.
Wait.
Okay. So I passed somebody.
Yeah.
By the time I passed that person, when the police officer scanned the car that I passed, they were doing 55.
Mm-hmm.
When I passed them, they were doing 45. They weren't keeping a steady speed, so
they sped up after you passed them.
Right. So they pulled me over, and I was not speeding. I was doing 55 in a 55.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so how fast was I going? And he said, I don't know. And I was like,
what?
I said, I get it. I said they were doing 45, and then they were doing 50, and then they were doing 40. I mean, I was behind them for a long time, and I just finally was like, I got to get away from this car. But anyway, so I didn't get in trouble. He gave me a warning. I got pulled over in the Jackson Laboratory parking lot. I drove by two police officers. I knew that my license plate was running out close or had already ran out. I don't know. He followed me from the ball field all the way to the Jackson Laboratory, which is like 2 miles. I pulled into my parking spot, and he pulled up right behind me and turned on the lights. Okay. So he gets to my window, and I always do this. Is there a problem, officer? Because I'm not going to let you know that I know what you've pulled me over for. You know, it's always good to say, hey, is there a problem? Be cordial. And he goes, you work here? And I'm like, I pulled into the Jackson Laboratory parking lot. And he's like, yeah, I've worked here for however long. He goes, did you know your plate has expired? And I said, no, by how long? It's like 3 months. Ooh. And he goes, do me a favor. It was like Friday morning. He goes, can you just get a new sticker put on that? I said, oh, thank you for telling me. I'm so sorry. He drove off. Well, the Jackson Laboratory security guy comes down and goes, "What in the world did you do?" And I told him the whole thing. He goes, "You didn't get a ticket?" I said, "No." He goes, "You must have been really nice." I said, "I was. I just, oh, I'm so sorry." He goes, so that day I called Amanda and I said, "Hey, you need to go down and get me new stickers." And I had it changed that day. But anyway, I did get pulled over for having a tail light out in Ellsworth. I was driving on Water Street and the blue lights came on as I was going up over one of the first hills by Dead River.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great place to pull over. It's like nowhere.
It's a blind hill.
So I slowed down, turned on my four ways, and they kept boop, 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 boop. And I'm like, I know. I drove real slow, and then I drove into where the landing is. It was a female police officer. She goes, "Why didn't you pull over?" I said, "That's a blind hill. That's not safe. I want you to be safe." She goes, "I'm just trying to pull you over." And I said, "Yep." And I apologize, but I wanted you to be safe, and this is a nice, safe place. And it was well lit. I'm sorry, I'm not pulling over somewhere that's not well lit either. You can do that.
Right.
You can turn on your four ways, drive slow, and get to a well lit area. It is not against the law. So anyway,
Well, it's better for everybody.
but she was really angry.
Yep.
And I said, "Is everything okay though? I mean, you pulled me over. I'm trying to get to Walmart." And she goes, "You have a tail light out." And I'm like, "Oh crud." She goes, "You work at Walmart?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Nah, just before you leave, buy a tail light." And she let me go. I mean, I was really nice. I mean, I felt bad. I was leaving the hospital one time. My plate light was out. To replace it on a Ford Focus, you have to like replace the whole working system on the door. It's stupid. So I drilled two screws into a Walmart headlight.
Yeah, I think you told us this before.
And I pushed the button before I leave work. I turned it off when I would get home, take it off, put it in the house, put it back in. Well, this particular day I forgot to turn it on. So when I got pulled over, I said, "Hey, can I get out of the car and show you? I know you pulled me over for the plate light." He goes, "I did." And I pushed the button. He goes, "Hey, it's a light, you know." And I prayed for the guy, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
if you are cordial, you may have gotten pulled over for something really silly like a plate light being out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they are just doing their job. Yes,
I got pulled
there
over.
are jerks out there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
there's jerks in every place.
Every once in a while, you come across a police officer who's
with an ego.
They've got a chip on their shoulder and they're out to prove something. And it's almost like they're trying to get you to mess up or something. I got pulled over once for the exact same thing within 5 miles of each other.
Okay. Yep.
And I think it was having a headlight out.
Okay.
It was funny too because it was on a road where there was all kinds of construction going on. There's all kinds of road work happening. I think it was a section where the pavement is totally scraped off and it's just dirt again. And then you get to that bump back onto the pavement. Well, I think that bump knocked my headlight out.
Yep.
And there was a police officer there watching how fast people were going through. I know he saw my light go out. I know he did. And he pulled me over and I was like legitimately like, I think that last bump is what knocked my headlight out. He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I saw it." He goes, "Just make sure you check it. Maybe I could wiggle it back so it turned on again." I don't know.
Yeah.
I get driving again and this was in a totally different section of town. Totally different section of town. I drove past a cop, noticed that my headlight was out, pulled me over again, and this was like within 10, 15 minutes of each other. And I was like, "I just got pulled over by your department, like over in the construction zone." I said, "I'll make sure that I fix my headlight." It was just one of those things where it's like, man, you guys are...
Nobody's communicating.
Yeah.
I got pulled over in Lincolnville on the way home. It was dark. Had my high beams on because I knew I had a headlight out. There was a car coming the other way, and at that moment, on the side of the road was a police officer. I'm like, crap, I got to turn off my high beams. So I did. Sure enough, I get pulled over. Same thing. "Is there a problem, officer?" He goes, "You got a headlight out." I said, "No, I don't." Just turn on your high beams. I said, "Okay." I turned on my high beams. He stands in front of the car and goes, "Turn off your high beams." I turned off the high beams. And I went, "Hey, I've got a headlight out." He goes, "Would you get that fixed?" It was late. There's nothing. So he goes, "Drive home safe. Get that fixed." I said, "I will, sir. Thank you so much." And you get to see him like, what an idiot, you know. So we get into Ellsworth by where Dina Lee's is, which is no longer Dina Lee's. So I just aged myself there. It used to be a gas station as you're coming into Ellsworth. It's now an apartment building.
Oh.
Just before that, there's a little pull off on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the cop with the lights come on, going the opposite direction. So I just pulled over and I waited, wound down the window, stuck my head out. As he's getting out of the car, I said, I got pulled over in Lincolnville. I have a headlight out. I'm fixing it tomorrow. He goes, hey, have a great night. Get back in his car and drove off. Then there was one night I got pulled over leaving the church we were going to previously. We had a great big concert at night, and the motorcycle cop wasn't on a motorcycle that night. Chris, I can't remember his last name. Everybody hated him. I didn't mind him. I used to feed him at Denny's. He noticed I had a tail light out, and my inspection ran out. So I'm like, I need to keep him away from the front of the car. So don't do this. I wound down my window, and just as Chris is getting out of the car, I said, Chris, what are you pulling me over for? He goes, why aren't you making my breakfast? And I get out of the car, and now we're having conversation with each other, but it looks like we're having an argument because his hands, you can't see me, but his hands are like French, and my hands are French, and we're like literally inches from each other. And another cop pulls up and slows down, and the flash came on thing, the light. Spotlight. And Chris goes, nah, like that to the guy, and he drives off. I mean, we talked for like a half an hour. And about how I was working at the laboratory. He's like, why are you driving this piece of crap car? You did the, don't look over here, look over here. Yeah, so I kept him at the back of the car. And we must have talked.
Did he finally figure it out?
No. No, so he's like, hey, by the way, the reason I pulled you over, you got a tail light out. And I said, oh, well, great, I'll get that fixed. And so I drive off. I get on the Surrey Road because I decided not to take the Bucksport Road because I didn't want to possibly see another police officer. But I could tell that there was this car just kind of following me. And I'm like, that other cop. It's another cop. So I'm keeping it at the speed limit. And he gets right up on me, and then all of a sudden he turns around and goes the other way because I could see him get on his CB, and he was chatting, and I'm like, he's talking to Chris.
Yeah.
And Chris must have been like, yeah, I just pulled that doofus over. You can let him go. I could tell. I was like, when I worked at Denny's, I mean, I saw all the police officers. So I'm like trying to, in my rearview mirror, going like, I can almost see who that is. I could see he was on the call. And he turned right around and went the other way. Because he must have just like called in my license plate. Oh, yeah, no, we just pulled that guy over. That to say, I mean, just give him a break. This is a hard time.
Well, they have.
This is a hard time.
They have one of the hardest.
I would not want to be a police officer.
They have one of the most stressful jobs of them all.
Yeah.
We just don't know what a police officer goes through in the course of the day.
No.
We just don't have a clue.
Well, I have a police officer friend. We've talked about this. His name is Victor. Hey, Victor, if you're listening, they go through some things.
They do.
And they don't have time sometimes to.
They're trained for emergent
danger.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
They have to make split-second decisions.
Yep. And it's life or death.
It is life or death. It's
anyone who doesn't know, go to a gun safety program and say, hey, I want to be put through the rigors of, and then you'll realize.
Even better, volunteer to go and participate in
a ride around
simunition training with a police department.
Do a ride around. Do they still do that? Do they
allow
don't know if civilians to do a ride around? It's terrifying.
Well, you think like a police officer, they see the worst that humanity has to offer.
Them in an ambulance.
It's not just speeding tickets and headlights out. They have to deal with often the worst of the worst. I mean, you think of Washington County Police Department over here, Sheriff's Department. They deal with the same drug addicts every single day.
I think it's still true. The highest suicide rates and professionalism comes from psychologists because they're dealing with people that are dealing with the same things that they're dealing with, and so they sometimes will go into a drug stupor. And
well, Casey, I mean, I think it's safe for me to say I'm doing this currently, but we get into a field often, whatever field that you end up working in has a lot to do with the kind of life that you live. You know, you see you needed help in a certain area and there was nobody to provide it for you. So let's say you get involved in medicine or police work or, social services. For me, like I went to work at Kids Peace because I was a punk teenager. Really. the more I thought about it, I'm like, these kids probably have never had a stable
Home life.
or somebody to look up to ever. I think that's true, Casey. Like, we put ourselves in employment where we end up seeing the worst that humanity has to offer. Honestly, if you don't have Jesus and you don't have friends and counselors to be able to process everything that you're going through every day, it's no surprise that suicide isn't higher than it already is.
I mean, I don't know what it is in the police force or whatever, but I tell you.
Well, I mean, these days, it's almost a bad word to be a police officer.
Oh, yeah.
They already have to deal with a population of the public that doesn't want them around. And now they have to look over their shoulder when they're doing their jobs.
I taught my kids very young. My 3 girls are young, but Daniel can attest that when I see a police officer or someone in the military wearing military clothing, I mean, it's walk up and stick out a hand and tell them how much you appreciate them.
Yep.
Sometimes I've had a couple of them kind of like they take a step, not so much back, but they make sure like what's happening right now, and then they put a hand out like, thank you.
They never know.
They don't know.
No.
And so I don't try to scare them. I try to make sure they've locked eyes on me. Yeah. And I say, hey, thank you. Mm-hmm. I know you're probably not feeling much appreciated right now, but I want to let you know how much I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a bad cop. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. It could be a bad anybody, but what did Aaron say this morning? Any of us is good.
Yeah. Well, we learned early in Romans that none of us are.
None of us are good.
So who knows? Maybe that one encounter with that bad cop, they need Jesus just as much as we do.
Right. And telling them, hey, I really appreciate you. It could be that thing that where they go,
I'm going to pray for you.
Man, I'm a jerk. I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
We went from fun to pretty serious there, didn't we?
And back again, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Do you have anything in particular you want to throw out there? Kind of fun to throw stuff out.
I think the next few chapters are going to be intense.
We still have the rest of Romans 9 to do.
Not that any of Romans hasn't been.
Yeah. It's a pretty rough book. I don't even feel like they're getting beat up.
I do.
Man, this was fun. This is always fun.
I was wondering how this one was going to go today, to be honest. I think I'm going to spill the beans on something.
Ooh.
My son Ian here spent some time in prayer and fasting a while back, and he thought he heard from the Lord that he feels the call to Portland. Portland, Maine. First, I poo-pooed it hard.
You texted me and said, hey, pray for me.
And then that guy came.
Yeah.
And he was talking about missions. And I was like, who the heck am I to tell Ian what he heard from God or not?
At the end of that service, Nate walks up to me because he texted me. He said, gosh, I don't know. Like, Ian doesn't even like living in a building with other people. And then he comes up to me and goes, I think I'm going to take Ian to Portland. I said, what? He goes, that guy really stabbed me right in the heart.
Well, it wasn't the guy.
It was God.
Ian and we've been talking about taking a trip down to Travis Carey's church down there. And we're just trying to figure out the best time to go. I feel like, even though I told Ian, like, if you should do it if you're called, I feel like I'm still the one holding it back. I want Ian to have the opportunity to check it out and to, start feeling comfortable, learning the area, that sort of thing. Get used to driving on the interstate. And like I told Ian, like, we don't know why God's putting Portland on his mind. God takes us through seasons.
Yep.
I think sometimes in order to make sure something happens, we need to let the cat out of the bag. Now there's forward momentum. We got to make something happen now. Yeah, people can pray for my son. He wants to do God's will, and God is saying go to Portland. So we're going to figure out why.
Yeah, so we want to thank everybody for hanging out with us and even talking about whatever just pops into our heads. Send us a comment, a question, a Bible verse, something you want to talk about. Is there a movie you saw recently that you're just kind of like, what in the heck? Or maybe you read a book. I don't know. We hope that you got something out of this.
I think the first part of the podcast, definitely.
Definitely the first part. Who knows about the second half?
The rambling part,
maybe not.
Then they go again.
Thank you for hanging out with us and just spending time with us. We're glad to have somebody listening. This has been Take Me Deeper. This is Casey Hill.
I'm Lee Dudley.
You just want to say thank you and God bless all of you.
Grace and peace.
To me, like I come in a storm and share your love with me. I deserve like a dark cloud, brought no land, and of love, and in my eyes. Sweet Messiah, come and rescue me. Holy, triumphant King of majesty, honor and power, glory be. Jesus, take my heart. Lord Jesus, take my heart. Lord Jesus, take my heart and bring me to life.
Local home Bible studies. Church me deeper. Podcast. Yeah. Doesn't. I'm having a stroke. I smell
Deeper
burnt.
stroke.
I smell burnt toast. Bing. I see you brought the machine that goes bing. Having a good time with us yet, Amanda? Now you can turn all that off. Pally? No. Room. Yes.
Room.
All right.
Room.
This will print. Edit.
All right. Well.
Woo! All right. Go there. I should probably go there too so I can read along.
Or Sarah. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Sarah.
it doesn't matter.
All right.
Anyway.
Next section.
That was a little bit of fun.
No, I don't want to go to the next section.
You don't want to go to 14 to 29? You want to hang out. The desert jackals. Anyway. Why did you... How could he hate anyone?
Yeah. Right.
Man, man, like,
yeah.
I mean, I know man, I have some plans, but I even was it.
Should I even do it? Should I do this?
You should. You got one angel on one shoulder and one angel on the other.
No. In it. Yeah. I mean, so.
BC, before Christ, this.
Before Casey.
Yeah, that's right.
For Casey's. For CC. So. I mean. But the thing is.
Kind of situation.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oops. Well, yeah. I mean, you. We can. Amanda can edit all this out.
She sure can.
But I need to play
this and this and this and this and this. Place. My goodness. 112. It says top tracks. 2025 Christmas special.
Well, that's kind of.
I like that.
You guys don't want to hear my voice anymore?
I know. I just think that's kind of cool, though. But
you just want me to read and not do commentary. Like, Nate, shut up.
Getting tired of you guys talking about
you and
stuff.
Your opinions.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know what any of that means, but there's some gobbledygook and some wiggly lines. But
we should do the thing.
We should do the thing.
Do it.
The thing. Anyway. Jesus.
All right. So yeah, TikTok. I'm sorry, but you missed like a whole hour of streaming. I am so sorry. It wasn't even connected. So if you're on TikTok, go to Jesus First Player on Twitch and watch the whole live. The end of the podcast will be all bloopers of like a minute and a half or something like that. Um, and then I'll be putting this on YouTube as well, as always. And again, if you want to go support me, go to ko-fi.com/content. And you guys have a blessed day or night. It's morning for me. I'm exhausted. I need to go to bed. So anyway, you guys have a good night, day, wherever you are, and God bless.